Before we begin this episode, where I introduce you to Josh York, the founder of GYMGUYZ, before he shares anything about his business, I want you to pay special attention to two things. What he's saying beyond describing the business itself. I want you to pay attention to the mindset piece of what he's talking about because it applies to everything that we do. Also, pay special attention to the tire on the back of the wall. I'll explain what that is at the end. And last, before we get started, I've got my brand new book called Your First Franchise Roadmap, and I'd love to get you a free copy of it. Go to yourfirstfranchise.com/roadmap. yourfirstfranchise.com/roadmap, and I'll send you a free copy. Now, let's get started with the show. Disruptors, I want to welcome you to a special edition called Your First Franchise. I've got a very special guest with us today. He's got a unique background. You're going to learn about the fitness world. He's got a second degree black belt in karate. He is introverted, but I don't think you're going to find that from this particular episode that he's introverted in the least. Josh York, Mr. Josh, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here. And for those tuning in, just make sure you're locked in. You're going to get a lot of golden nuggets out of this episode. I promise you that.
I love it. All right. Golden nuggets, baby. All right. So the biggest challenge, what is the biggest challenge you've ever faced with this business, and how did you overcome that?
Oh, man. Well, we'd be sitting here for a long time if I told you about all the challenges I've had over the last 16 years. But I'd say, honestly, in the beginning was cash flow. Probably for the first 10 years, I'd say good 10 years, suffered with severe cash flow issues, severe.
What turned it around for you?
See, the thing is, here's the thing. You cannot grow without money.
Mm-hmm.
And, not to be unprofessional or inappropriate, but I like to always say I got balls bigger than church bells because I'm not scared of anything. Nothing scares me. I'm fearless. Mm-hmm. And that's really what you want. That's really what you want. That's what you need to be if you want to get to the next level. But, you got to do things, and you got to be very calculated, but you got to do things that pretty much I guarantee you 99.9% of people are not going to do. And, I've taken every single penny you could possibly imagine, and I just kept reinvesting. I've brought people on paying them 6 figures a year in the early days before I was even making $20,000 a year. Mm-hmm. You have to do a lot of things that are going to put you in some very, very uncomfortable situations.
Yep.
And, then next thing you know, you got 4 people you just hired and you have no idea how you're going to be paying them, but you figure it out. And, most people would, say that's crazy. I need to be strategic, and I need to think about this, and it needs to be really structured. And I want to make sure my budget's right. And that doesn't work. It does work if you go in and you have some friends and family money, or you're backed by some private equity firm or some angel investors, then you can be more structured and more organized. But in the early days, it doesn't work. As you grow and as you develop, then you become more of a company and things get more structured, right? You have that infrastructure, you have those budgets, but in the beginning, you just got to make it work, right? Like I'll tell you, 99% of it, honestly, comes down to one thing: taking action and saying yes. Even if you don't know how to do it, you figure it out after, and you make sure you make it work. Oh, and those, as the saying goes, the fortune will always favor the bold. If you're not bold, take a seat. You're not going anywhere.
I love it. All right. The who or what? Because you got through a lot of stuff. Who or what are you grateful that helped you get you where you are today?
Well, so obviously my kids. In the early days, obviously I didn't have my kids yet when I started. I'm just very motivated by being able to do things that people tell me I can't do. I love that. Like, it's funny. In the early days, I had this guy who was working with us. He was a Harvard graduate, and he was helping me with some financial stuff. And I'll never forget when he said, you're going out of business in 3 months. And I said, you're fired. Just like that. As soon as he said that, I said, you're fired. I said, it's not going to work. And I'll never forget, I sent him my financials a couple of years later, and he's like, oh, wow. He's like, you must have taken on a lot of money. How'd you do it? I was like, I didn't take on any money. I was like, you never tell Josh York he can't do something. I'll prove you wrong every single time. So I'm grateful for that side of me. But when it comes down to, I'm grateful for, my kids, my wife, my family, right? That my family means everything to me. that's my why. And for me, growing up was not great. So I didn't have a great life growing up. So I'm driven on the fact that I want to be able to, teach my kids, how it has to be done, but also provide for them and have things that I never had and understand what it is to be loved and, have that comfort, that security feeling, but don't get it twisted. It's very important to also understand, and you do this through leadership, is teach your kids what it is to work hard, how to be great, and that could be through sports, through schoolwork, through, a chore they're doing, whatever it may be. But, my kids will be the farthest thing for being soft, and they are not lazy. They are constantly going, but they see what I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to really tell them much, so that's why in business, you got to be a good leader because it's very important.
More is caught than taught. You're leading them. There's no question about that. All right. You saw a problem in the marketplace, and that turned into a window of opportunity. Okay, let's start unpacking your business with the Gym Guys.
Yeah. So I've always been into fitness and I love helping people. And I tell trainers this to this day, like being a personal trainer is not scalable. It's just not scalable. You're not going to get to the level you want to be at. And at the end of the day, what are you going to be personal training people for the rest of your life? Like there's only so many hours in the day that you have. And, I always say trainers and doctors are exactly the same. Doctor without patients is unemployed. A trainer without clients is unemployed. And, one day at a time, one of my clients came in late and said, Josh, I wish you can come to my house. I don't have any equipment. And I was like, wow, this is like such a simple idea. Like no one's ever actually really professionalized it. No one's franchised it. I'm going to do it. Got a van stocked with all the equipment, enough equipment to provide you a fantastic workout, 365 days a year backed by our 3 C's, convenient, customizing, and creative workouts. Came up with the name GYMGUYZ. It's an acronym for Get You Motivated. Goals uniquely yours, zero excuses. If you look up the word guys in the dictionary, it's referred to a group of people regardless of their sex. And I was like, this just screams Mr. International. This just screams worldwide. This just screams massive. And today we are the largest in the world. We service, thousands of cities, 3 countries, almost covering the majority of the United States. And the truth is, we're just getting started, baby. We are just getting started.
So talk about the customer. Who is the typical customer and how they find out about you?
It's crazy. So the customer continues to change, but, ideally it's like 70 to 30% female, ages between 35 and 62. But we have clients as young as 6, 7 years old. And our oldest client turned 102 not too long ago and can do a 2-minute plank. Listen,
that's better than me.
Listen, movement cures almost everything. Okay. And you have to move. And if you're not moving, that's a big problem. You need to move on a daily basis. It's hands down the most important thing.
102 years old, 2-minute plank. Okay. I mean, that's inspiring in of itself right there.
Listen, we got a call not too long ago from the son and daughter of these parents we work with. We started with them about 10 years ago, and they said, listen, I want to tell you something. We want to thank you so much. You definitely gave our parents another 10 years of life.
Wow.
And it's such a great feeling to hear. But I remember when we met these people, they were like in bad shape because you gotta move. I can show you a 70-year-old that moves and works out. And I can show you a 70-year-old that doesn't. Mm-hmm. And you would be like,
we just had the Rolling Stones were just in New Orleans for Jazz Fest. And
wow.
They got video of Jagger, who's 80, 81 years old. And They set up that long ramp that goes out into the audience, to the sea of the audience. Yeah. And they had him on a full sprint running back to the stage. And he came and he puts on a 2-hour show. It all goes back to what you just said.
And it's also, I had someone the other day ask me how old I was. And I love to just say, how old do you think I am? And I don't know, 32, 33. I say, correct. I'm 40, man. And honestly, I'm going to always be young. I act young. I'm active. I move, and I make sure I do it every day. And you too should do the same thing.
All right, let's unpack. Man, it's all about mindset. I love everything you're talking about. Let's talk about the business. What does it look like for someone considering the business, the investment level to get into the business? Let's start unpacking that a little.
Yeah, investment level is $92,000 to $175,000. The difference is between territories. So, you could go 1, 2 to 3. We don't sell more than 3 unless you are an extremely experienced individual in business. 90% of people do 3 territories, maybe even a little bit higher, maybe 95%, because, you want opportunity to grow and scale and build a great team and make some great revenue, like when you go through the process and you get to the item 19, which is going to be a financial representation of the company, it's going to show you we base it on revenue trainers can bring in. Locations have anywhere from 5 to 7 trainers. High level trainers are bringing in $1 million of revenue a year.
Wow.
So do the math, right? Average locations, average is actually even higher than it should be. It's lower than what it should be because, I had, someone, again, this is a perfect example. I like full transparency, but I make mistakes just like everyone makes mistakes. I decided to sell a franchise to someone a long time ago. I sold them 30 territories, and this is why we don't do more than 3 unless they're experienced. These people were really experienced, but they didn't put energy into it and never ended up running the business. Mm-hmm. So you'll see we show a 0, which is like a 0, but everyone makes mistakes. But high level million, average is really probably closer to about 500,000. Mm-hmm. But in the item 19, it shows 300,000, which is obviously still incredible. At 3 territories, you're still looking at close to $1 million. But at the end of the day, here's what I tell people. Business is easy to say. It's not easy to do. Mm-hmm. People think like this fairy dust comes down from the sky and you're going to become a multimillionaire overnight. That will never happen. And anyone who tells you that is full of it. You have to work. You have to put the work in. I always say the model works, the support helps. Nothing works if you don't work. You got to be determined. You got to be disciplined. You got to be motivated. You got to have the mindset. And on the days you lose, you don't say you have a bad day. I have 2 types of days. I have good days and I have great days. Mm-hmm. My losses are my lessons. Mm-hmm. And we're looking for those same type of people, right? We want people who understand that because business is pretty easy. Very simple. You want to be successful? Don't quit, no matter what. Doesn't matter. Trust me when I tell you there's always a way. And I can't speak to all franchise, but I'll tell you about ours. You have an 85 to 90% chance of being more successful in our model due to the operations, the procedures, the systems, the support, the mentorship, the list goes on and on. But you have to work.
100%. What do your margins have to be strong? Considering you don't have brick and mortar to deal with.
They're just like my biceps, man.
Powerful, baby.
Yeah, powerful, baby. Yeah, our margins range. Here's the thing. I have owners at the 70% range, and I have some owners 50, and in the early days, like 35 to 40. Mm-hmm. As you start scaling your sales, mm-hmm. your margins continue to go up because you have low expenses. And the great thing we have in our business model is recurring revenue, mm-hmm. but I like to call it aggressive recurring revenue because we have clients training 2 to 7 days a week, stretching 2 to 7 days a week. Businesses using our services 6, 7, 8, 7 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. So you have a consistent flow coming in. Not every business has the luxury of having that repeat customer on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly basis. You might not get that repeat customer in some businesses for 6 months, a year, so it's consistent. I haven't personal trained anybody in almost 14 years, 13, wow. About 13 years. Mm-hmm. I still have clients that started with me that are still trained to this day.
Wow. Let me ask you this. What does the support look like? Somebody getting going. Okay. Let's say that you talk to them, they sign, they're on board with you. What's the launch look like? How do you support them? How do they get going?
Yeah. So here's one thing. I will tell you this right now, and our validation is incredible. Mm-hmm. You are never going to get the type of support that it's, some of my franchisor friends tell me it's crazy. It's too much, but I don't believe in too much. We are really, here for you. So you're in business for yourself, not by yourself. But you talk about everything from marketing to your systems, to your grand opening events, to your digital advertising, to, one of the hardest things, back in the day, we used to have challenges with trainers, hiring trainers. Well, not anymore. We fixed that too. We help you take care of all of it, vet, screen, do everything, and then pass the rock stars to you. Mm-hmm. You literally have unbelievable support. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I'm going to say it again. You still have to work. You got to OTC, as I like to say, own the community, get out there, build relationships. You want to make money? The more hands you shake, the more money you make. It's very simple. And the ones who get out there, and I like to always look at digital leads as the icing on the cake, because you still got to get out there, right? You got to drive your business. You got to build that, that good relationship with the community. But they see the van, they see marketing materials. Now they're searching you online. Next thing you know, you have leads coming in just from being in the community. Now you have leads coming in from digital. Now you have leads coming in from your advertisements. And next thing you know, you're like, holy smokes, I'm bringing in 100, 150 leads a month. And you're super excited. It's great. But I'll tell you, it's funny, it's like, I remember like in my head, I'm like, man, it'd be so great when someone comes out of GGU doing these type of numbers that would take people 3 years to do. They're doing it now in month one. It's crazy. Month one, like it's crazy. It's very exciting.
How many vans would a territory consist of? That's max.
So that's a great question. It really, look, you start with one, trainers do take their cars, we have car toppers, so wrap their cars just like you deliver pizza, we deliver in the workout. But you will expand the van, obviously, as you get to certain points with sessions. And, some trainers will drive the van full time. Some will take it for X amount of hours and someone else picks it up and takes it. But, I have territories that got, 7, 8 vans. I have territories that have 2, 3 vans, and some have like a couple sales vehicles. And that, you kind of scale it as you grow and bring in more sessions.
And those are, I love wrap vehicles. Those are rolling billboards.
Rolling billboards, baby. I'd say it all the time.
That's got to help drive a lot of sales.
You should just get rid of your personal vehicle, and that's all you should drive. I literally sold my personal vehicle back in the day, and I just drove the van literally everywhere.
I got a buddy of mine who's the number one. Love this. He's the number one real estate guy in the state.
Wow.
11%. He's done $1 billion in sales. 11% of his sales have come off his wrapped vehicle.
Okay.
Number 11%.
Tell people this all the time.
Yeah. That's and I validated that with another one of our. I had that same conversation with Scott Abbott, who is in the service side of the business with 5-star brands, and he said the same thing for all of his brands, about 11%.
Yeah, listen, we get so much business from our vans, but like you could be driving the van back from a party on a Friday night at a stoplight, and someone's like, "Oh my God, I need to call them," and boom, they call you, book it right there, like literally, like. You never miss an opportunity because you're always in their face. You need to be in people's faces. You need to be creating that omnipresence.
100%. What does the ideal candidate look like for you?
So we have franchisees from all different types of backgrounds. Mm-hmm. I tell people, what does it look like to be ideal? You got to have the raw tools. Some of the things I touched on earlier. Mm-hmm. Have the mindset. You got to be persistent. You got to be driven. You got to understand that nothing comes easy, and you got to understand the easy way never pays well. Mm-hmm. Easy way will never pay you well, ever. Mm-hmm. If you don't like roller coaster rides, if you don't like being a little uncomfortable from time to time, look, if you want to have things people don't have, you have to do things people won't do. That's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to. And all the magical people in the world who do big things and are up there at the high level do and go through these things. That's why I tell people to work out all the time. And I don't tell people to work out. I tell people to work out. Because when you put yourself through discomfort and you have the discipline to build yourself a beautiful physique and body, well, you can pretty much do anything. And when you choose to suffer, and I like to suffer early in the morning, the rest of the day is like easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? Because if someone happens or someone quits, you have to fire someone. It's like a joke and you just move on. But the thing is, and trust me when I say this, and I've said it before, everything works out every single time. But you have to trust that, and you have to not quit. And that's really it. It's like really simple. It's really, you just don't quit. And, I will tell you, thinking back to it, doing it on your own would be absolutely insane and crazy because, this is why when you look at the stats of how many businesses fail within the first year, it's absolutely insane because it's very hard. And honestly, it'll be 700,000 times harder than you think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. That's why going into a franchise model and paying a small royalty and being part of a community and a culture, and our culture is the best. I will tell you that right now, unmatched. You can go look us up on the internet. There's nothing better than our culture. The love we have in this company is incredible, and our franchisees are the best of the best. And that's very important. You want to be part of something. You want to be able to be part of a community.
I love it. What's the vision you have for the business?
Worldwide domination. And what I mean by that is we're going to continue to keep changing lives and helping people. Look, it's great to make a living. Mm-hmm. It's much better to make a difference. And we change lives every single day, and we're able to make a living at doing it. And there's not a better thing in the world. And, I could sit here for days and weeks and months telling you stories of the people we've helped over the last 16 years. It's really incredible.
Well, like you, I want people to realize their full potential. What's your number one piece of guidance after Peck put a bow on this to guide people so that they do see that, so they can see the possibility?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is people are scared and people fold like cheap chairs. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that to be nasty. I'm just telling you the truth. And sometimes you got to hear it, but don't ever take advice from someone who hasn't done what you're trying to do. I wouldn't be where I am today if I would have listened to, at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife. When I was leaving my parents' dining room, she's like, "What are you crazy? What are you crazy? You're going to leave your parents' dining room and now you're going to be paying almost $1,000 a month, like $1,000 a month, like a joke." But like, that's what the rent was at the time. And I said, I got to do it. I got to go into an office. That's the only way I'm going to grow. Like, I can't keep working in my parents' dining room. And a lot of people get advice from people who haven't done it, and they will, get in your head. You need to be around people that you want to be like. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And if you were not nervous, something would be really wrong with you. So your nerves are normal. The difference is the ones who make it are the ones who don't think, right? Analysis by paralysis is going to kill you. It's going to kill you. You got to think and say, if you want to do it, do it. That's it. I always tell people, cut out a little thing over your watching, right? NOW. The time is always now. There's no perfect moment. Can't wait for the sun to be shining, for birds to be chirping. You got to take action. Action takers are the money makers. And when you're going into business, yes, you're going to be a little unsettled. But you know what? Ask yourself, would you let your family down? Would you let your kids, your children starve to death and not eat because you're not going to drive it? No, use that as your fuel, get after it, and make it happen. But in a model like, a franchise system, you have an opportunity of a lifetime, but you got to pull the trigger. And I always say, not ready, aim, fire. Fire, aim, ready.
I love it. All right, folks, this is the perfect place for us to button. Folks, if you would like to learn more about GYMGUYZ, get in touch with me. I'm working with Josh and his team. Check out yourfirstfranchise.com. Hit the contact us button. I'll get in touch with you right away. Yourfirstfranchise.com. Josh, I want to thank you. Man, this has been way more than just talking about a franchise. This is talking about life and what it takes to exceed across all areas of life, of what you just touched on. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, I am grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate our friendship. And, like you said, guys, you want to talk to the expert, and he'll be able to help you and guide you. And he is the expert. And I'm looking forward to, speaking to you guys. So thank you again.
All right, Josh. Take care. Thank you, sir. Have you caught your breath yet? That was Josh, and everything he talked about. We were here to educate you on the franchise, GYMGUYZ, of course. And that's invaluable information right there in and of itself. But the bigger picture is whether you're looking at a franchise, whether you're looking at a business, going in your own business or buying another business, whatever it is, it's the mindset piece. It's the nuggets that he dropped throughout that entire, through this whole episode. Now, I encourage you to go back and listen to the show a second time, maybe even a third, to pick up on all the nuggets that he laid down, because those nuggets will impact your life for the better, no matter what it is you're doing. That was part one. I did not know we were going to do a part two till after the show. I asked him about the tire that was on the wall. Go back a few frames, you'll see the tire on the wall. We're going to have a part two. I'm going to come back in about 2.5 months. I'm going to talk to him about the tire that's on the wall, how that ties to Phil Knight, how he used that tire to get attention. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, if you've ever considered a franchise, if you considered GYMGUYZ, get in touch with me. If you've ever considered any franchise, you got to first know, is it the right thing for you? I address that in my brand new book called Your First Franchise Roadmap. Now, I want to get a copy to you. So get in touch with me on yourfirstfranchise.com. Yourfirstfranchise.com. I'm going to get you a copy. Should you prefer a paperback version of that book, you can go to Amazon and know this: 100% of the profits from that book are going to go to Make-A-Wish. So I want to get as many of those books out there as possible and give as much money back as possible to Make-A-Wish. Help some kids out. All right. Now, you know the drill. You've been with me long enough. Be intentional and make today a great day. Bye-bye.